Now, political parties have agreed to work together in 4 hung municipalities in Gauteng. The agreement has been reached after weeks of talks between the Democratic Alliance, the eNCA, and 6 other parties. Political analyst Levy Ndou from the Tshwane University of Technology joins me now. Mr. Ndou, good morning and thank you very much for your time. A very interesting turn of events, I must say, in the Johannesburg Metro in particular. When you look at the seats allocation, only 4 of the 10 went to the DA. Most certainly a dramatic shift, if I recall, from the DA's post-election stance where we saw that fallout with the multi-party coalition group. It looks like clearly here there was a need to have a stable council which trumped any peripheral reservations.
Good morning to you. Good morning to the viewers at home. Indeed, these are quite interesting times. And I think this should be seen as a step in the right direction, in the sense that now we can sense an element of stability moving forward. But this has actually required a lot of negotiations and persuasions, especially on the part of the Democratic Alliance, that had to talk to these parties one by one in ensuring that at the end of the day, they are also able to form a government. But also at the same time, it's an achievement on the part of the DA, which has actually vowed for quite some time that they are not prepared to work with the ANC and the EFF. And they've been able or succeeded in forming a government without the ANC and the EFF. Another element for me is that it has become very clear and open that this agreement is being signed and everybody is made aware that there is this coalition agreement which involves these different parties. And this will actually mean that now it is possible for stability in these metros, and the party that is in charge is actually the Democratic Alliance.
And I mean, it's actually important to state that this is a majority coalition government, so there is in fact stability. But then to Action SA, they are the biggest winners in comparison to the other parties if we're going to look at the number of seats they got. Clearly, one would say a day is too long in politics. Anything can happen, because a few weeks ago, one newspaper headline read, "The DA betrayed me," and they were quoting Herman Mashaba, and then Helen Zille published that scathing response, and now we're here. Action SA has 3 portfolios. What do you make of such developments?
We don't know what are the details of the coalition agreement. But what we know is that in a coalition or in an agreement, or in any form where different parties have to come together, there should be a compromise, because it's a give and take situation. The Democratic Alliance has been quite disparate in ensuring that they run these councils, and they knew that they couldn't run them on their own. They would require other parties. And the compromise also had to come on the part of the Democratic Alliance members or councillors, those that thought that they might get positions in the council. Their positions are now given to other political parties. It will therefore mean that the Democratic Alliance had to sacrifice some of their members in favor of other political parties that are in a coalition. What we need to look very closely is as to whether this coalition agreement is actually going to run for a longer period of time based on what they've actually agreed upon, or as to whether there are clauses that actually put strict regulations on the conduct of members of the coalition. And another aspect that I think is very important that we need to look at is that coalition members or partners outside the Democratic Alliance now have to report to their political parties and the Democratic Alliance, because in the council, where they're given responsibilities, the DA is in charge, and outside the council, their own parties are in charge, and the third person or the third player are the citizens. So it will require those that are in the coalitions to ensure that they're able to sell all these three masters at the same time. But we also need to caution the legality of these coalitions, whether at any time these coalitions can break. What will then happen if certain members of the coalitions do not adhere to the coalition agreement?
Yeah, but if we remember correctly, John Steenhuisen initially said that if they were going to enter into any coalition agreements, what would be of utmost importance for them was to have something that would legally bind the other political parties, where there would be consequences if someone were to step out of the confines of that agreement. So I take it at this point, in as much as we're not privy to the details, there should be something that is legally binding, I take it. Are you aware of such?
Not at this stage, but one would expect that the Democratic Alliance has learned the hard way. Remember, it is the Democratic Alliance that has been in coalition with other political parties in the past, and based on their experiences, the Democratic Alliance is the one that said, we do not want, for an example, to work with the EFF because of the experiences that they had. And that is the gap that I expect the Democratic Alliance to have closed. And that, for me, has got its own other implications. As to whether coalition partners are going to adhere mainly to have their allegiance to the Democratic Alliance as the leader of the coalition, or they will constantly consult with their own parties, is something that we still have to wait and see. Also, if there is an element of bullying in the relationship, which I know might not be part of the agreement, what then should happen within the coalition? But I think at this stage, what we need to do is to wait and see as the coalition is developing and as work is actually taking place. But I think in the interest of democracy and good governance, one would expect that coalition partners have come to an agreement, put all the important issues on the table so that there is sufficient stability in the municipalities, which was not the case in the past.
No, let's hope that the delay was as a result of them ironing out a few of those issues. But thank you very much. That is Levy Ndou, political analyst from TUT.